Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the top 5 openings for black on the intermediate level. So I've made a couple of videos now about openings, and this is the last one I'll make until next time for openings for black. So this is my all-time highest rating. This is my rating right here. And without further ado, let's go straight into the game. So this is going to be for people that are, let's say, from 800 rated to about maybe 1400 or 1600. Beyond then, I think you need to, well, some of these openings definitely are carried through to that level, especially the more positional ones, but some of them can be a bit more dubious, which is where I would suggest the more solid openings. So first on the list, we have one of my favorites, which is the caro-kann. So the caro-kann is simply starting off with c6. There's many ways they can respond. They can go queen pawn to d4, get the knights out. They can do loads of different things to respond to this. One of the most common reactions though is d4. We're going to push d5, and then you've got many variations from here. So if you are an intermediate level player, you will likely know of this opening. Reason why you should look at this again though, perhaps if you've brushed past it, this is a great opening for positional based players. Okay, if you're someone that likes to get out there and attack straight away, maybe this isn't an opening for you. I mean, many openings on black aren't that aggressive, but this is a superb opening for someone that likes the positional play, because you'll find that it can imitate the London system in many ways. Once you get this sort of pyramid structure and the bishops on the outside, if you're used to playing the London for white, this could be a great opening for you because you're pretty much mimicking the setup from the black pieces. And the caro-kann is very flexible. You know, it offers so many variations that you can do, and it's hard to go wrong from the get-go. You know, you need to know how to develop this knight. So, you know, the idea is that eventually you're going to get your knight here and look to come to this square. They're probably going to get a bishop out, you'll trade that off, and then get your knight into this lovely position. There's some pawn breaks coming up eventually as well. And yes, that's pretty much the basic strategy, and you want to castle kingside. There are variations you can castle queenside as well, if they start rushing pawns down the board. So yeah, that's the caro-kann. Great opening to get familiar with, especially at the intermediate level. So I just got jump scared there. My cat is in the room. I didn't expect to see her there. Hello. Caro-kann is a great opening to get used to. Now, the second opening on my list is the French defense. Again, I think I had this in the beginning video, so apologies if I sound like a broken record. This is more tailored to the intermediate level player. Reason why the French defense is so great is because it's that solid positional nature again. Now, you can go wrong here as well, so I just want to give this caveat from the get-go. The French defense can be quite passive for certain beginner players, so be careful. You know, make sure you're not just leaving this bishop here, especially once they go for the advanced variation. Because this bishop is going to have a hard time being developed, which is a positive of the caro-kann, by the way. Some people say it's similar to the French, but a bit better, because this bishop is now on the outside, and you haven't got to worry about having a bad bishop for the rest of the game. But it's not necessarily too bad. We can look to get our pawn up, and that will give space for our bishop in different squares, look to trade it off potentially. There's different strategies you have. A lot of times this game is going to revolve around a pawn structure leading towards white's queenside, which is oftentimes what we're going to be attacking. And by the way, a rule of thumb, if you are not aware of this already, a good way to point out your strategy in the game is that your pawns will often indicate the direction you're going to be attacking later on in the game. So for us, it's unlikely we're going to have a kingside attack. It's going to be more queenside. So yes, that's why you have ideas of pushing, making a pawn break here, once they take, this becomes a weakness. So French defense is a great opening to get used to. Many master level players still love this opening. So when I suggest intermediate openings, I like to suggest openings that you should practice getting good at here, so that when you get to the advanced level, you can have it up to a pretty good standard. Have it pretty memorized, some of the key lines. But even if you haven't got it fully memorized, still a great opening. I've had some good success because I'm quite a positional player myself. So I think if you're more of a positional player, perhaps my advice is a bit more handy for you than that person that wants dynamic sacrifices and full on attack for the king. So next opening from the French, we're going to have another opening I had in my beginner opening. So there are different openings, don't worry. The last two are going to be different. But this is the semi-Slav, okay? I love this again because it is just so solid, okay? You've got a very strong setup here where we're going to be eventually making a pyramid structure again. And it's hard to go wrong. Get the bishop out, okay? This is going to be a Slav defense. You can do a semi-Slav. It's just a bit more passive. I wouldn't recommend that for intermediate or beginners because you're risking that your pieces are going to be super inactive, and you have to know how to maneuver this type of position, how to make the most of a passive position. So I wouldn't recommend semi-Slav, I'd recommend Slav if you're just an intermediate player from 800 to 1400, as I mentioned. So moving on to the fourth opening I have, which is, let me see, it's a response to e4, it's the Sicilian. Now, the Sicilian has many different variations. You have, it depends on what white does. From here, you've got the Rossolimo attack. You've got the open Sicilian. Or you have a closed Sicilian. So, and there's even more to that as well. You've also got variations that black can decide, such as an opening we call an accelerated dragon. So it's like an accelerated dragon setup, because oftentimes your bishop, the Dutch bishop here, is going to be restricted, especially once you move this pawn up here. The bishop's going to have a hard time eventually getting to any of these squares, so this is the most logical development move. And this is quite a solid opening for black. I will say having a fianchetted bishop in the intermediate level can be great. Your opponents that are also intermediate, they don't know how to handle a fianchetted bishop. Myself, I would say that it can take a bit of getting used to for an intermediate player, because there are different ways you can play with this. I do personally like when we can get our bishops to more active squares like this for beginner and intermediate, because it's more simple, the pieces are more threatening and they're pushing for an attack. But the fianchetted bishop is definitely a good choice. So yeah, play around with that. If you're asking me for a specific line to choose, yeah, I think there's definitely no harm in the accelerated dragon variation. Okay, now fifth and final opening for intermediate players. That will be the Dutch defense. So that's a response to d4, and we're going to go with f5. f5 is it's actually quite a unique opening. You don't see this that many times. I wouldn't say the Dutch is especially rare, but I personally haven't come across it in that often. And so for that reason, it's a great opening to get an offbeat opening to get an advantage on your opponent, because many people don't know how to deal with this. And there's many strong lines you can do here for getting a good position with the Dutch. So I don't have to go too deep into this now, but there are many great ways you can proceed from here. You can look to create a pawn break here, or even this sort of pawn break even is another idea that's possible. You're going to get a really strong control on the e4 square with this opening, and I think that's a great part of this as well. So definitely play with this opening if you're not used to or haven't tried the Dutch opening yet. It can be a lot of fun, and you'll get a good position. Definitely more attacking and dynamic than the other openings I suggested. So that's it from me today, guys, with my top 5 openings for black. Make sure you hit a thumbs up if you found this to be useful, or some openings you didn't expect to hear. I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. If you're an intermediate player, what openings do you play right now, and what openings are working for you? I'll be interested for you to comment down beneath for me to understand what's sort of popular at that intermediate level. But apart from that, guys, yeah, thank you very much for your time. It's always appreciated. And subscribe so you stay tuned for the next video. I've got some opening theory coming up, but more importantly, I want to address tactical thinking and strategy in chess, because I think that's the thing that isn't covered as often as it needs to be. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.